Hi, it's G from Native Speakers Academy, and this little piece is about intelligence, or the lack of it in most cases. So where do you begin when you talk about intelligence? IQ, the basic measure of intelligence, which doesn't really change that much throughout a person's entire life, or EQ, the emotional factors involved in intelligence. Well, things like IQ is all relative, because if you give a basic person living in Western society an IQ test, and you take the same IQ test and you give it to a goat farmer in the Himalayas, you're going to get completely different results, which are not really going to give you a fair analysis of these people's positions in life or the world. What you know tends to be relative to where you live and the people around about you. If the people around about you have a higher intelligence, then that increases the probability that you will be able to raise your own intelligence in that respect. So you want to surround yourself with intelligent people. That's the first thing. The second thing to think about is if you can hold in your head this concept or idea of average intelligence. Now think about the people around about you, think about the average intelligence. Now if you're a thinking person, which is why you're watching this video and listening to me, if you're a thinking person, then you're going to be surrounded by more thinking people. So if you look at average intelligence in your surroundings, that's not going to be average intelligence overall. That's going to be higher than average intelligence. So imagine a fair spectrum of people in your environment and try to judge their average intelligence. Now, average intelligence means that you're sort of not thinking as much as you're thinking. And then imagine that half of society is much less intelligent than that. It's quite a scary thought. Half of society is much less intelligent than an average person with average intelligence. It's quite freaky. Now, how does this relate to language and work and other things that I'm interested in? Well, we have input skills and output skills. Output skills are basically what comes out of your mouth. Sometimes there's thought put into that, and sometimes there's not. So the basic output skill is the art of half of the art of conversation, explaining an idea to people. But you can only explain what you already have in your head, in your nut, as they say, your mentality. I like that phrase. And that's not learning. Speaking is not learning. The more someone speaks, the less a person knows. Speaking is not learning. It is very often the regurgitation, can't say it, of bullshit. Vomit speak, let's call it. What a horrible phrase that is, which describes it quite well. I'm just going to say whatever's in my head. And and out it comes this complete nonsense idea about, oh, well, I think this about the world. Really? Well, there you go. So conversation is an output skill. Which if people come into my school and they say, yeah, I wanna have a conversation course. I wanna use my conversation skills. I wanna be able to talk to people. Okay, so what is your level of language ability? Well, and these people are beginners. You cannot expect to have a conversation with someone as a beginner, because you just don't have enough words. You don't have enough nouns, verbs, adjectives. You don't know enough language patterns. And still, the average person wants to have a conversation with someone when they don't have any knowledge in their head. They can't produce any output skills, and they're not prepared to put any time into the input. So language development, any kind of development, is working on those input skills, and the input is listening and reading. What goes in to the brain? Predominantly, we learn through reading. We don't learn much through conversations with people. We just end up repeating the same things that we already know. So repeating the same things that we already know might be interesting, but I've cut off ties with a lot of friends that I had in the past because they had no time for their input skills. It was just output, the same useless drizzle and nonsense again and again and again. And this usually manifests itself in complaining. Do not surround yourself with people who complain about everything constantly. There's not going to be any positive result to that. Recognize the problem, act to solve the problem, and move on. Anyone who's constantly complaining about the same problem is just it's just some kind of accident waiting to happen. So, what's the point? As usual. The point is you need to work on your input skills always, constantly, all the time. Read. Read for quality. Read for history. Read for knowledge, in-depth knowledge, understanding. Read for a broad spectrum of ideas. Read for the acquisition of new language and new words. And listen. You will learn much more and understand much more from listening than you will from speaking. Now, a well-placed question can help prompt the information that you will listen to. And as always, you need to ask questions and demand answers constantly. And if the answer doesn't satisfy you, ask again. And another thing that you will pick up from listening is that language is a rope that ties itself up. You cannot use language, which has been created by people, so obviously it's not perfect, but it's a great tool. You cannot use language for a longer period of time without contradicting yourself or getting tied up within the words. So my advice in any kind of more complex discussion or conversation with people is let people talk. Let them talk, and they will give you enough rope to hang them with anything that they say, if you want to do such a thing. It's usually just enough to listen and take away the knowledge from the conversation of what kind of intelligence we are dealing with. And the things that happen on an everyday basis in the world around about us, these are all intelligence tests. Everything is an intelligence test. So be aware, be constantly aware of everything that is happening. We are tested all the time, every day. And if you want to grow your intelligence, work on your input skills, your listening and your reading. And enjoy then the art of the conversation. And as a final note, don't forget to feed your body and your brain what it needs. You need to put the right vitamins and minerals into your body to make sure that everything is functioning to the best level that it can. So, that's the right vitamins, minerals, the right foods, the natural foods that the body needs, and maybe a bit of light exercise as well. So, those are my thoughts on intelligence. Stay focused and let me know what you think. This video is too long. I'm sorry.